Hi, Bob and Sherry Nee from the Cleaver Center in Largo, Florida. We are doing this like really spontaneous kind of video here because we have a client. Let's call her Betty. And Betty is in love with this great guy who lives in a medium sized town in the Midwest. And she lives in a medium sized town 100 miles away. And they're talking about getting married. And she has a job over here, but he has a house that he's lived in forever with mom over here. And they're trying to figure out if he's going to move out of his house or she's going to quit her wonderful job and find a new job. And here's the thing, I think one of three things is going to happen. Either she's going to make a big sacrifice and quit her job, find a new job, and he's going to be super appreciative of her quitting her job so he doesn't have to move out of this house he's lived in forever. Or he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to make a big sacrifice and move out of this house to where you're working, and move everything that I need to move. Or they're going to break up. I don't see it breaking up. They're madly in love.
Okay.
And so I think if she's making a great, huge sacrifice by quitting this really great job and going to another city, that one of two things has to happen. He has to be super, super appreciative and love her even more for that great sacrifice, and that's got to be enough for her. Or he's got to give something in return. You know, in Major Leagues, we call it a player to be named later. Like some other huge favor to be named later. Or something like a promise that says, hey, we're going to live in this house for 5 years or 10 years, and then we're going to sell it and get a bigger house as a thank you for you quitting your job over here.
And I disagree.
In there. Yeah. So,
because my thought is if he says, okay, I'm going to have a player to be named or I'm going to do something grand, she can hold that over him forever, and anything she wants will be like, oh, well, remember you said you owe this to me. I don't like that back, that you owe me something.
I think it's okay for people in love to owe each other something. And in this case, if I was Betty, I wouldn't bring it up a whole bunch of times. I would bring it up in that one super important time to say, here it is. This is the big important thing I want us to do.
But there's still going to be, I'm a little bit more skeptical of human nature. And I'm afraid that she's always going to have that in the back of her head, like he owes me. And so there's going to be a little bit of a, well, I did this. Remember when I did that great thing? I'm concerned that that's still going to be in the back of her head. Or he's going to feel like he needs to be appreciative all the time, that he has to give in. If their communication isn't on point, if they really can trust what each other says, it might be okay. I'm concerned. I don't like that kind of keeping score thing.
So if you and I were in a situation like that, let's say that you lived in Grand Island, Nebraska, and I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I said, I got a great house, I don't want to move, you got a great job in Grand Island, Nebraska, and we're madly in love like we are.
Yes.
And you really loved your job in Grand Island.
Then I need to decide for myself, is it worth the sacrifice for me to live with you, to give up my job, and to be with you without me being resentful? So I got to decide that for myself. I got to look at the pros and the cons. I'm going to do a pros list. I'm going to do a cons list. I'm going to rank what's most important on each of those and then decide for myself.
If it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to have, 40 more years with you. Or am I going to have this job for 15 years, which may or may not be worth it? I got to decide that for me. I don't need you to promise anything. I got to make that myself.
And that makes good sense. Because then if you're making the decision yourself, I'm going to stay and sacrifice this job, or I'm going to leave and keep my job. You made the decision for yourself. There's no possibility of resentment built up.
And knowing you, I know you are going to see it as a sacrifice, and you will be appreciative and say that.
Over and over again.
Right.
Every day. For a long, long time.
Right. And I know that that's, you know, you're not going to sacrifice yourself or be, you know, a doormat because I did that, because you know I made it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But you also will be appreciative, and I know that.
Yep. And if you bring it up in an argument, I will say, do you want to try that again?
And I'll be like, oh, crap.
I do want to try that again. I don't want
do.
to bring that up in an argument.
Because
that's not fair.
Right. It goes against what my side of the street then is not clean.
Yeah.
Because I said something I shouldn't have.
Yep. And of course, we're going to pray and ask God's will for everything. And if we still get opposite answers, like human beings do sometimes when they pray, right?
Right. Then we talk about it again.
We talk some more.
Do you, sell the house and we can get this great house in Grand Island? Do we go halfway? There's just other things to consider.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Want to get healthy? Follow us.